Hi, this is Graham. I'm back again this week, again to talk about gratitude as part of our Fruitful Life series. And so far, we've talked about gratitude and gratefulness, and we've also talked about what the roots of those words mean. Today, I want to take you a step even further and talk about gratitude as deep awareness in life. You know, one of the hard things about life is that when we get deeply involved in life, sometimes it can be incredibly difficult to have a perspective that's just beyond us, that sees the more than, that sees from a greater perspective. Sometimes we can get so immersed in the darkness that we don't see what's light. I mean, kind of like we don't get to see the little puppy that's in the window. I want to talk to you about gratitude as awareness. And I want to start by talking to you about a period in my life where I discovered the difference. There was a period back in the very early 80s where I had been a therapist with adolescents and children in a psychiatric hospital down in Virginia. And it was something that I really loved doing, but eventually the nature of the work, it burned me out. Up until that point, I had wanted to be a person who cared about people in life, who wanted to make a difference in people's lives. But I burned out. I was overcommitted, and it was difficult work. And when I burned out, it left me feeling like, well, what's my life about? And I went through a 16-month period of unemployment during a recession back then where I couldn't find another job. And so during that time, I underwent a transformation. I had been burned out. I was unemployed. I was confused, and I started to become more and more cynical about life. I started to become more cynical about my life and about the world. And something in the middle of that began to change. It was right around Christmas where I began, through a series of conversations with others and actually joining a church for the first time, I ended up changing my perspective. Instead of seeing what was wrong in life, I began to see what was right in life. And not only that, but in that transformation, I began to see God more in life, and I became more grateful for things in life. Instead of looking for the bad, I began to really look for the good. And instead of being focused on how everything is falling apart, I became focused on how everything is being built together. And it was through a growing sense of gratitude that my life began to change. And that I recaptured that sense of wanting to care about people and to make a difference in people's lives. And that eventually led me on a path that eventually led me to become a pastor, to become a spiritual director, and then now to become the executive director of Samaritan. And in all of those avenues, I had the chance to make a difference in people's lives. And it happened because I became more grateful. It influenced me to this day. It led me to become the pastor of a church for 22 years, a church where we did emphasize what's good and rather than what's wrong, where we emphasize where God is instead of where God isn't. It's where we emphasize caring and loving each other rather than looking at the world where there isn't enough love. It eventually led me to come to Samaritan, where I could lead a place of therapists and people who are making a difference in people's lives, not only day by day, but hour by hour, who work with people who are struggling and yet are able to help them see life with more awareness. And that growing sense of gratitude helped me in my life, in my family, to see the blessings of the people around me, to cherish my family, to cherish my friends, to cherish opportunities. And even during this COVID crisis, I recognize fully all the things that are wrong. but I've also been able to see the blessings of how people have been creative in caring for each other, in reaching out for each other. And even at Samaritan, how our therapists have been able to adapt to teletherapy, to video therapy and telephone therapy, where they can now walk with people and make a difference. And in my work with churches and pastors, of doing similar things. So one of the things that happens when we become more grateful and develop gratitude is we become more aware of beauty, of a growing life around us, of the people we cherish, of opportunities that come our way. Instead of seeing what's impossible, we begin to see what's possible. Instead of seeing what's been taken away, we begin to see what's being given to us. Thank you for taking the time this week to listen and to think about gratitude. And I'll join you again next week for our final segment.